Hi, everybody. I'm just going to kind of show you how to go about writing your research paper. So after you're done outlining, the next step is to focus on typing your paper. So you've done a research paper before, very similar concept. I did kind of create an example paper for you. And so we will have that on Schoology available to you in case that helps kind of following that process. Also, keep in mind this writing process. Slideshow is there for you to help. It kind of gives you written explanations to things, but it also gives you several examples. Like if you're sitting there already saying, hey, I need help with creative titles, it talks about that. Hey, I need help with attention getters. Here's some ideas on how to go about doing that. Here are some examples. Uh, Use it to, however you need to. We do have them linked on the title page. If you click on any of these ones, it'll jump to that particular slide in which you will find those. So when you go about writing your paper, you're going to want to have your note cards up and ready. It might actually be even more of a seamless process this time since it is electronic. So one thing that is helpful is having that open, having your outline open as well, and then having a document for your research paper. If you're wanting to, as I stated before in the outlines, you can just make a copy of this, or once you've submitted your outline into a turnitin.com folder or assignment, you could just start writing in this as well. I always suggest, in case you're worried that the outline didn't submit correctly or something were to happen, just go file, make a copy, and then you have that there. And then you can just get rid of these things like the attention getter, delete that part and the thesis and all of that. But if you wrote incomplete sentences, you already have kind of the outline, the skeleton of your paper. So with that, I have already done all the writing because I didn't want to have you sit there as I was doing it with outline trying to type things out. It's slow and it's crazy and my thoughts are all jumbled. So I already wrote a bunch. Now it looks like a lot. Keep in mind you want to keep the formatting the same. Notice how I have my creative title, and then I do have an introduction. I have my attention getter as my first sentence, my thesis statement, so my topic plus my opinion, my answer to my research question, is the very, very last sentence of my introduction. These sentences in between are bridging what does my attention getter have to do with my thesis statement. And so you're just kind of going through, kind of letting us know what stance you have, what the problem is, whatever it may be. The style of writing that I'm doing in this is argumentative. If you're doing a problem and solution, it's probably going to be somewhat similar what you're writing and what you're doing. It's just going to be focusing on the problem first and then going into solutions. So I already have my topic sentences. It's the first sentence in my body paragraphs. Some things to kind of keep in mind is I do not have a question in my topic sentence, nor do I have a citation of any kind, whether it's written in the sentence, those internal citations, or if you have them at the end, those are parenthetical citations. I don't have them at all whatsoever in my topic sentence. My topic sentence is just letting me know what the body paragraph is about. So with that, you will find that once you should already have that either fully completely written out from your outline, or you'll have a fragment in which you just have to write out the sentence, flesh that out. Then you go to your first note card. So if I come back here, here's my first note card. I took this information and I put it into a sentence. But because I'm using the top half of the note card, I must cite where I got it from. And if you have a page number, you need to include that. So move my outline over. So that's what I did. I have my information and then I have my citation. Now, if you're sitting there going, I don't know what to put in those parenthetical citations, if you scroll down, you should have your works cited page at the very bottom. If it helps to highlight these things, by all means, feel free to do that. That's one thing that I've always done in my classes is just say, hey, if you highlight them, it makes it easier for me as a teacher to check and see that you are doing it right. But notice how it's just the first thing that shows up. If it's an author, if you have an author for your sources, it's just going to be the author's last name. That's it. Do not put the first name. It is just the last name. So I have Bostwick and Sparks. Now, I have two different sources that do not have an author. It's not coming up as the first thing. The first thing that is popping up in my citation is a title. That is what I'm going to use in that particular parenthetical citation when I'm using those sources. I would use these two, and I'll kind of talk about shortening them in a bit. So I pulled from Bostwick's article. That's my source number one. So I put that in there, and since there was a page number one, I put a page number in there. And then I took this and put it in there, and that information came from me. So then I sat there and added that in there. Then I grabbed my next note card, and my next note card was a quote, which is perfectly fine to have. Our goal is to hopefully have one quote, try not to exceed 3. It just gets to be too much. So I do not have a quote just sitting here. Notice what I have right in front of it. And this is something that some people are struggling a little bit with their TKM essays. You do want to have a phrase or a clause or whatever it is, something explaining what is going on in this quote, or what does this have to do with anything. So I was kind of explaining what the circadian rhythms deal with, and how it is helping to know this information in having a later start time. And then I have my quote. And then I make sure I do not put a period right there, because my period is going to the right of my citation. And then I will have the bottom half of the note card. And notice how even my bottom half of the note card already is sentence. So all I had to do is copy and paste. One thing you have to keep in mind if you are copying and pasting, you will want to paste without formatting. Because remember, if you watch the outline video, if you just copy and paste this, it's going to be a really big, huge font, not following the exact same font size. So I didn't stop right there. I have a concluding sentence, wrapping up, but also transitioning into my next body paragraph. And so that is something helpful to know. Notice how this is just one paragraph, and I only used 2 note cards, which means I have 2 citations. And that's the easiest thing to do. My daughter's going to come in and interrupt us. Then I have my next body paragraph. So my next body paragraph, still have another topic sentence. Now, in my second source, it has only the title. And the title is really, really long. So with that first one, with a really long title, I use the full title. But then the second time that I use it, I only use the first 3 words, and then I do this thing called an ellipses, the ... And then that lets me know that, hey, it's that really long one that I don't want to have to keep retyping and putting out. Still having my concluding sentence, and then I move on to my third paragraph. And if you might notice, I am on page 2. And I have started a little bit on my third body paragraph, but haven't quite finished it. And then this is my reworded thesis, in which I would need to flush out and have 5 sentences for my conclusion. That's already getting close to 2 pages. Your requirement is 3 to 5 pages, and that is not including your works cited page. I have only used, in about a page and a half, 5 note cards. So you might not be using all your note cards. You might find that some of them just don't relate to what you're trying to say, and that is perfectly fine. But just know that you use whatever ones make sense in what you're writing. Some other kind of tips and quirks that we want you to keep in mind as you're going through. We have a lot of various different examples of how to use quotes, phrases, all of that. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you go through. Also, things to take note of is we talked about combining your citations together if you're going to have more than one. And that's what I have right here. You would use a semicolon. So if I were to have a citation where I'm combining 2 together, let's say I'm doing my Bostwick, and then I'm going to do my long, well, I'm not going to put the whole long title in there. I would have it like this. And then whatever page number it would be. And that's how my citation would look. You would just use that semicolon. So just use everything to the best of your ability. We try to have either videos or other things to help you. If you have any questions, I cannot stress enough,